Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So, former President Trump gave a powerful and colorful speech at CPAC Saturday night, giving new voice to his traditional themes of finishing the battle to make America great again, going after the Washington, D.C. deep state, going after globalists and neocons and many other parts of the political class establishment status quo. Now, as I've said several times, I'm not picking winners or losers right now. I am very proud of my 3 years as his economic advisor. I cherish my relationship with the former president, and I agree with him that the more, the merrier. That is, the more GOP primary contestants, the more fun everybody's going to have. And hopefully, the survival of the fittest will produce the GOP candidate that will trounce current President Joe Biden and his far-left administration. Nothing personal, Mr. Biden. You understand that. It's just that we have some serious disagreements about the direction of policy and the country. Now, one thing's for sure. In the former president's CPAC speech, he launched into a very important litany of issues. He provided more in-depth policy analysis than anybody so far in the race. He thrashed China, promised greater tariffs. He will try to remove them from most favored nations. He believes the Wuhan lab leak compels China to pay America and the rest of the world for the horrific costs of COVID. Mr. Trump would leave the World Health Organization. He would attempt a peace deal in Ukraine. He chastised Europe and NATO countries for not paying their fair share of the Ukraine war. He made a strong pitch to return to energy independence, arguing that if America opens the spigots for fossil fuels, oil prices probably would have settled around $30 or $40 a barrel, and there would have been no Russian invasion of Ukraine because they could never have afforded it. He was harshly critical of Joe Biden's retreat from Afghanistan. He even found time to criticize Biden's economic regulations that are strangling business, as well as his spending and borrowing policies that generated record inflation, and essentially argued he's brought the country back once, and he sees his mission as doing it a second time. There were a couple of new wrinkles in his agenda, namely the creation of what he called 10 freedom cities, as well as a new baby bonus to create a generation of baby boomers. Parenthetically, I must say, Harold Ford and I, along with the late Jack Kemp many years ago, we all argued for this concept. I still think it could work if you did it properly. Essentially, Mr. Trump offered a governing agenda. And as I said, going much further than anybody else in the race, or frankly, anybody else contemplating the race, that doesn't mean others won't develop and present their own agendas, but so far, only Mr. Trump has really put it out on paper. Now, as you know, folks, I've argued again and again that the GOP needs to renew and restore its traditional role of economic stewardship of prosperity. Cutting taxes, minimizing regs, completely overhauling the unmanageable federal budget, opening the fossil fuel spigots, add sound money to fight inflation. Mr. Trump hasn't yet fleshed out all of his ideas, but he gave some pretty strong hints Saturday night. I'm sure all the GOP candidates understand the problem of affordability in today's high inflation, and the problem of security with today's high crime, and the problem of dealing with Biden's open borders, and the problem of paying for groceries, for rent, for utilities, and the problem of young single moms with jobs, but they might even be facing homelessness. The crazy idea that blue-collar plumbers and pipe fitters should pay for the student loans of the well-to-do, just nutty. As Kellyanne Conway has said many times, whoever has the best plan for the economy is going to be the likely GOP nominee. But they've got to have a plan. They've got to make a clear difference between the socialist Democrats and the capitalist Republicans. They can't be bashful in labeling Democrats as part of the bigger and bigger governmental problem. Government has become a leviathan, and that leviathan is shutting down opportunity, and it's attempting to create an even greater welfare state. Polls show clearly that most folks believe they are worse off than they were a year ago or 2 years ago. This is what big government socialism has accomplished. The economy is in decline. The Reagan boom is long gone. The brief Trump revival has largely been overturned by Biden. So if Republicans speak plainly to all groups of people, and most particularly to middle American working folks, especially living in industrial states, they can reclaim the White House and grab the Senate along with it in the 2024 election cycle. But they've got to be clear and bold and optimistic. I think Mr. Trump gave it a good shot last Saturday night at CPAC. And that's my riff.